we're going to look now at how we can get our player character to move around the screen by following the mouse instead of the arrow keys. So there's a few different steps that we can do, and we'll sort of check in each step of the way just to see how well it's working. So the simplest way is to grab a green flag, grab a forever loop, and then over in motion, this one's a little bit hidden, it's actually here. We have go to random position. If we click the little drop down, we can see mouse pointer is the option. We can drag that inside there, run the game, and our character now follows the mouse no matter what. However, there's a slight problem. Perhaps you want the player to start down here, and the second I click this green arrow, it just jumps up to the very top there, which might not be what you want. So we're going to add in an extra little step just to check that doesn't happen, that we start the game and then we wait for the player to move their mouse over the cat, and only at that point will it start following the mouse pointer. So we're going to take this out just for a second, because we're going to add in an extra block, which is an if block that we have used before. And the condition for this is down here in sensing. We've got this one here, says touching mouse pointer. So this is because this is inside the cat, if the cat is touching the mouse pointer. And we can see the pointy edges, this one's going to fit just fine in there. And drag that there. Let's just have a quick read through. So when the game starts, always be checking if the cat is touching the mouse pointer. And then if that's true, start following the mouse pointer. Let's try it out. So I did green flag and the cat didn't jump up. So now I'm going to move the mouse down, pick it up, and there we go. It's now following. However, you will notice if you move the mouse too fast, then the mouse is no longer touching the cat and it will stop following it. So if it's a really sort of slow game with careful movement, this might work just fine. However, you can quite easily break it by moving the mouse too quick. So that's not perfect. So let's look at the third stage of doing this, in that we pick up the cat, but then at that point, once we've started the game, it won't let go. Even if we move the mouse really quick, the cat's still going to follow. So we're going to take this one out just for a second. So what we sort of want to happen here is, if all this is true in here, we want to sort of flick a switch, which means this will always happen. At the moment, we're sort of always checking if it's touching, and if it loses contact, it stops here. So we sort of want a sort of on-off light switch effect that's going to trigger another block of code to always be running. And for that, we're going to use a broadcast. So a broadcast, it sort of like sends a message from one block of code to another block of code. And it does actually work between sprites as well. I could broadcast a message from the cat to another object, but we're just using it within this sprite. At the bottom of the events, there's this broadcast message 1. We could just leave it as message 1, it'll work just fine, but we should really give it a proper name. So we click new one, we give it a name, let's call it game starting, and OK. And now we're going to drag this inside there. So if the mouse pointer gets touched, then we broadcast game starting. We can see there is another starter block just here, which is called when I receive. And we can click the drop down and click game starting. So now we can have a separate block of code that's going to run once we receive the broadcast that comes from over here. So let's just add the extra steps that we need here. So we're going to need just the forever loop, and then inside there. So this new block, it won't actually run when the game starts. It's only going to run when this happens. Let's test that out. So we collect the cat, and I can move the mouse as quick as I can, but there's no way of toggling this to go off. So it's always going to be following like that. There you go. So that's how we can use broadcast to sort of jump between two bits of code and toggle one to be on or off, and how we get our mouse movement as well.